Welcome back to One Non Blonde. I'm your host, Kim. And today I've got, as promised, part three with Andre Cohen. How are you doing today, Andre?
I'm doing great, and I hope you do the same.
I am. I had a really busy week last week with Easter, and I am ready to start up fresh and new. And since I last spoke with you, we talked about dating and relationships. I took this to heart. I'm a person who enjoys when someone tells me something and gives me advice. And even though I'm not looking to date, I was looking at this as my advice on getting back into the world and finding my relationships again because I kind of lost that between COVID and just being too busy. And so I'm excited today because we're going to talk about rekindling relationships, how to maintain these relationships, and just get some great tips on how to have a healthy relationship. So thank you for being here because I am ready, willing, and able, and wanting to be you're the best student you have. I'm going to be your best pupil. So I'm excited about this. So thank you for giving us this advice.
Yeah, and when we talk about relationships, we talk about two different kind of relationships. We talk about the regular relationship at work, with business partners, with neighbors, and we talk about the relationship personally, one to one, building a unit, uh, wanted to spend the rest of the life together, hopefully a long and healthy life. And up to a certain point, the very personal, intimate relationship, like I want to call it, and the relationship we have as neighbors or thing is the same. It starts with developing to get to know each other. That is part of the beginning of a relationship. And we have in the beginning, like I said, the chemistry, we have the excitement, the person looks like we want it, it seems to have the same interests we have. So we get deeper and deeper and deeper in there. And here, it also depends on what age group we start the relationship. Are we grown-ups already in their 40s, in their 50s, 60s, or what age ever, or are very young? If you're very young in a relationship, if you're in the 20s or whatever, we don't see things like we see it later. Because I always say life is like a backpack. We put all of our experience in there and it becomes heavy and we move slow and we look in the backpack and we say, okay, there is this dirty shirt from the first marriage. There is a dirty pants from a failed relationship. And we carry that with us, which is really normal for us because we try to make not the same mistake. And in this aspect, when we always look in our backpack with the dirty laundry from the past, we already bring it back. So we have to cut it off because in building a relationship, if you go in there heavy hearted, if you go in there with in the back of your mind, I hope it is not this way. It is, that reminds me on my ex. This new person is not your ex. Even something reminds you, know, if he pokes his nose or it goes in his ear, it is still a different person, even if it does this. We have limited vocabulary, limited movements. You will find in another person something, some person you had bad experience has something in common. It doesn't mean it has the same character, it has the same heart, it has the same mindset. It is not formula fits all, one formula fits all. And here is also when I talk about relationships right now, I have to talk very globally. I cannot go into very specifically because relationship for everybody is different because there is two different people meet every time and how we met. So I have to talk very generally here in relationships. And when you start communicating with the new partner, that is very important. And communicating is something different than just talking, completely different. And a lot of people talk and don't know to just talk, to don't communicate. Communicating for me is when you ask me a question, sometimes it takes me a couple of seconds because I want to understand before I say something. I just don't want to respond. I want to say, what is Kim asking me and why is she asking me that? And then I can respond. If I don't understand it, it's my obligation to say, Kim, what do you exactly mean with that? So I can give you the right answer. And that's the difference between talking and communication, listening to understand. The second thing is our expectations. We are, let's say, two adults, 50 years old or 55 years old, whatever, sit across. They lived already a life. Nobody of these two will be the Virgin Mary again. Okay. They had past relationships, they had old friends, whatever. And when the partner looks in there, well, I don't like that you talk to your old friend Becky or to your old friend Jim again. Why? Why? Makes no sense. If you and I would have dated 30 years ago and we said, okay, we want to move on and we're great friends, but there's nothing else, we still can talk as friends. And that is a thing also a part of relationships. If it really doesn't work out, it really doesn't work out and you have to part, it doesn't mean you have to be enemies. You don't have to throw rocks at each other. And that has also to do with the relationship you had. If you had an understanding, friendly relationships, and like I said, if you liked each other before you loved each other, it doesn't mean you have to continue loving each other if there's nothing there, but you still can like each other. So here comes that in what I call a little bit of jealousy. Why are you talking to Jim and Becky again? I think that were your ex-girlfriend or your ex-wife or your ex-husband or whatever. Why not? They had time together. And if they are not enemies for some stupid reason, I say stupid reason because sometimes becoming enemy is really a blown up balloon, it explodes. It doesn't have to be. So in this relationship, I call it's a jealousy of an ex-partner. And that is deadly. That is deadly. I think jealousy has a lot to do with two things. The fear of losing somebody I have. Why would you lose him to an ex-husband, ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend? They lost him. You have him right now here. Okay. And if you're jealous and if you give that person a hard time because talking once a month for 10 minutes on the phone to an old friend, you already start losing them. Because what you do is subconscious, unconscious, you try to control that person's life. You cannot talk to Jim, to Becky anymore. That is controlling.
And also, do you think that people are manifesting a false narrative that continues to almost put a poison into the whole relationship when they do that subconsciously?
You mean in the new one or in the old one?
In the new one, if I'm jealous, if I'm we're together, and then you say, well, I say, well, why are you talking to Becky? Right. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, is he having, in the back of my mind, maybe I'm thinking, right, are they having an affair? Is she giving him something that I can't? And it's almost like you're creating this new narrative that's not even there. It's a worry and a narrative that takes over the whole relationship because it's now that's your narrative. And instead of our narrative.
And I say it in a very almost romantic way. If I would call Becky and you would say, what's going on there? And I would say, okay, I'm going to call Becky for a while. First of all, it's how do I call Becky? Do I call her in the living room so you can listen to it, or do I have to be secretive? Okay, that's a big difference too.
Definitely.
If there's nothing to hide, I can say I call Becky and be in the kitchen with you or wherever I would be. So you can hear it. That would take a lot of pressure out of it. Because if I need privacy for that, what does it tell you? And that's when the narrative comes. What is going on with them? So that is, I would say, when you would say, well, you have an affair in this, I would go privately so you don't know contact. Mm-hmm. So the open communication, that's when I talk about communication, is a thing. And here it comes also, when I say the jealousy, it's the fear of losing, and the fear of losing comes again from the own insecurity. And the romantic way would be, you can call Becky, Andre, but you know you're mine, okay?
Oh yeah. It's like
to say that and communicate it in a fun way, in a loving way, that would take so much already from the top. Because what do you do if you tell me that? You tell me I'm yours and I have to respond. If I don't respond, hey, there's very little chemistry. If I respond, of course I'm yours. What are you talking about? Okay. You know, there's so many answers. They are also fun, romantic. You know, you can say, okay, let's come on, hug me, and I call her later. There can be, right? There can be many things we can do to take that out. But it was just an example.
Yeah, of course.
Of the new relationship when we have the past. Nowadays, most of the time, people, when separate, 90% of my experience working with clients, they cut off the past completely for reasons whatever. Like I said, one formula doesn't fit all. And when I say that is, okay, saying about relationships, I really, really have to be globally. Being in a relationship, I say relation, you have to relate to the other person. That is already in the word relationship. And we also have the word ship in there, which is boat. You have to be in the same boat, sailing in the same direction. And you have to sail, and the nice wind is coming. And something comes, the wind blows a little bit different, and the sailboat tips over. What does it mean? It means already here that sometimes a little red light comes on and says, oh, that person did this. I had this experience 15 years ago. Oh, it's almost the same. If that little wind blows over your boat, that's not good. Because when you're deep in a committed relationship later on, and there's a storm coming from left and right, you both have to hold on to the sail and not let the boat tip over. Because if the boat tip over, you're both in the water, you swim, and maybe swim in a different direction. So make sure you both hold the sail no matter what wind it comes. There will always be something. I mean, I never, as old as I am, and I'm very old, saw where everything goes 365 days great. It goes good. We can always turn it to good. We can always make it simpler. We can always make it understandable. But there is not every day just wonderfabulous. Not possible. Because there's influence from the outside. There is work. There is the grocery store. There is whatever it is. It influences us. It influences our mood. It influences our feelings, our emotions. So, like I said, not every day. But if two people know that they want to make it and the feelings are there, and I talk about feelings, heart and soul commitment, heart and soul feelings, heart and soul. So people say, well, you know, a good relationship, Andre, it's 50-50. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's not true.
Exactly. So, because Thursdays say 60-40, 30-70, it shifts back and forth. But in the end, it ends up to 50-50. And I tell them, that is not enough for me. 50-50 is 100. What do you mean? I say, no, how about you give 100 and your partner gives 100, we have 200. It's more than 50-50. If you have 200, you have 100% buffer to keep the 100% alive. So if you cannot be in a commitment close to 100, so you have 200, how strong is that? And that's what I always say to people. If you go in a relationship and you cannot put your full heart in it, you have to measure it by material, you have to measure it by height, you have to measure it by how many words are spoken, you have to measure it. That is not working in a relationship. The relationship is always relate to the other person. If you text me or call me, I'm busy today, I cannot talk, that is communication. I will say, okay, I understand. If you say, can you talk fast? And I say, in 10 minutes, that is communication. And that is the basic of a good understanding, a really good understanding with each other. And a relationship, sometimes we really have to take a risk, a limited risk. But what I mean with the risk is if two people decide, oh, wow, we see each other now regularly for 6 months, 8 months, we really would like to spend the rest of our days together and commit in this relationship. And you say, but it is very practical that you have your place and I have my place. What does it tell us? I want my back door open to back off any way I can.
I always have an escape plan. I always have a second option. Yeah.
If you have that in your mind in a relationship, don't continue. You're in to hurt yourself, hurt others, or others hurt you. And sometimes people are too funny to say, well, we're on the same page. He wants to keep his own place. She wants to keep his own place. That's perfect. Because both are not committed.
As I said, they're perfectly fine for the fact that there's no commitment. And I think that's the hard part too. Is like sometimes I think people think that this is a great relationship. This is like we're compatible. This is like, we're symbiotic. But it's like if you don't put your whole heart, your whole being into a relationship, you're only going to get out of it what you put into it. And I know sometimes it's really scary because you're afraid if I commit and I give all this, my heart is breaking. But we have the capacity to love and continue to love daily. And yet, if you lose it and you have your heart broken, it's gonna mend. And I think that's the thing is like when you allow that little teeny hole to give that escape plan, you're not giving 100% to a relationship. So you're never living fully or abundantly into that relationship.
Exactly. And that is the base of relationship. Moving forward to the commitment because you feel you can be committed. And you don't feel thrown in the water if a day is not going well. I have sometimes couples, I feel their love. And they come to me and they say, we don't know what's going on. Since we started meeting, we just have a hard time. So we dig in, what is your hard time? And they tell me the whole laundry list, what it is. It is a hard time from the outside, not between them. It is a job loss. It is a move from the apartment. It is mold in an apartment. There's many things from the outside, and it adds up because they both have to deal with it. Since we met, we had such a hard time. I lost my job, he lost his job, and now we're struggling with this and that and this and that. No, that's not the relationship. That's from the outside. You have to know what's coming from the outside. And I kind of like when people have a difficult time in the beginning. I really like it. And not because I'm mean.
No, it helps them to realize, like you said, it's going to help them cement who they are, not the outside forces.
Right. And it also shows how committed they are to each other to make it through this hard times. No matter if it's 1 year, if it's 2 years, 10 years, if they make it through the hard time, I guarantee you pretty much to make it for the rest of their life. And I always tell people my war stories. And I say, my parents and my grandparents, from Europe. They went through a war. They lost everything. They even lost for years each other physically, but never in their heart. There was the grandfather was on the Russian front fighting the Russians. The other one was there. The other one was there. Mother with older siblings had to take care of the siblings at work and didn't know if grandfather or father comes home. I heard all the stories from people they have been to that time older than I am when I lived in Europe. And they showed me the pictures of their bombed houses, of their shut down apartments, of having no food in a house even because there was no grocery stores open. It was a horrible time. And I say they made it through it. And when they reunited, and if you really have the chance to talk to people, they've been through that time, you will find out that the bond became so strong, so strong. And that is when you read on social media, married for 70 years, married for 68 years, because of the difficult times. And they went together through it and they made it through it. The bond and the love became strong. Because I heard many times my father and my mother telling each other, "You are my rock." And that means you see the other person solid. And if you see the other person solid, you admire it. You admire the strength, the inner strength, and you admire also the love, because it takes love to make it through that times. Without love, you will not make it through the times. And the love is, and here, oh man, that's another topic. I read many times, oh, you need self-love, self-love. And I mean, I read articles like that about self-love, and it is so misinterpreted. It when you read through the whole 25, 36 lines, it is selfishness, not self-love. Self-love is a very simple thing, and we need in a good relationship self-love. Because if we don't love ourselves, we cannot love. And self-love is a simple thing. It says, first of all, I'm Andre, period. I'm Andre with 160 pounds, 180 pounds, 200 pounds. I'm still Andre. I'm Andre with gray hair, black hair, red hair, no hair. Okay, so that's me. Second thing, I accept myself how I am. And I have to get a little bit spiritual. God made me that way. Why would I change it? He has a plan. Okay, he wants me to have a big nose and big ears for some reason. So I hear better and smell better. You know.
I see Italian nose. What can I say?
And you know, that is self-love. First of all, I'm Andre, no matter who I am, how I look, what I am. I accept myself. Because let's say for certain things I can change, other things I cannot change, and certain things I should not change. You know, do I have wrinkles? Yes. Do I need Botox? No. Because all of that are stories. Every wrinkle, here on the eyes are many laughters. Every wrinkle here and here is a story. Every wrinkle up here is concerns, is worries. So the face tells stories. And that is important in a relationship too. When I talk about self-love, take yourself and love yourself who you are, not being the gung-ho, not being the bully, not being the person putting walls up for your own protection. Because what people don't realize in a relationship, if you have walls in a relationship, it is between the two people, no matter how big the wall is. And you stumble over it. Tear this wall down in a relationship. And the old saying, unconditional love, it's so true. And people say, no, you cannot love unconditionally. And I say, that is nonsense. Complete nonsense. Because what does unconditional mean? It means I don't put a condition on it. I don't say, Kim, if you're not 5'9", I don't like you. If you're not a nurse practitioner, I don't like you. That when a relationship becomes a business plan, not a relationship.
No, I
So,
agree. I agree. That's important.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think people forget like you said, I think they forget what unconditional really means. Because really what you're doing is you're putting, like you said, you're putting on you're putting on what you think should be lovable. And that's what
Right.
yeah.
And here we start already also making mistakes in building the relationship, being in a relationship. Visualize the person and try to change it so it fits us. Oh man.
Don't get you started.
No, don't get me started, because you met that person as it is. Started loving it, this person as it is. And all of a sudden, you want the hair green, you want a six-pack in a man. All of a sudden, you want the person different. Come on. What we need, though, what we really need, and especially when you go in a second relationship in an adult age, we need adjustments. And adjustments is not that I change who I am. Adjustment means only I develop pattern that might not fit the new relationship. If my pattern would be good and my habits would be good, I would maybe be still in an old relationship. Okay. So being honest is also self-love. Being honest to yourself. Okay, I like to do this every day, but was it good for me? And will it be good for the partner? And here I say, put the shoes of the other person on your feet and do it physically. Sometimes, no, I really say sometimes do it physically. As I go home, you put his shoes on, you put hers on, and give me a call how that works. And I tell him, do it physically. So he says, I don't fit in it because they're too small. They're high heels. And she says, well, they're way too big. I say, see, it's not so easy to put the shoes of another person on your feet and even walk in it. Mm-hmm. So before you judge, before you want to change that person, I say, do you make your feet bigger so it fits in his shoes? No. Do you cut your toes off so you fit in her shoes? No. But you see how it feels. You see, it is not that easy. So make it simple. Say, okay, adjustments. Don't change who you are, but adjust. You know, I will talk example. The gentleman says, okay, I need my beer every night. One beer is nothing. Well, the lady might not like the smell of beer. All right. So you have to think, oh my God, I like beer. So you try wine. The smell is strong as beer. So you might have once in a while, but you adjust to something, it fits both. Does it make sense?
Uh-huh.
And that is just one example. There's other examples, and I draw some examples from my experience where she said, I hate, he cuts all his food small, then he takes his fork and just shovels it in. Old way of eating, some people eat that way. And so if you see that she doesn't like it, well, just, you still eat, right?
You don't stop
do
eating.
Little adjustments. Yeah, just do some little adjustments. It fits both. And also in a relationship, the first step of stepping apart is when one party says, well, that's just who I am. Deal with it. Wow. That is the first step in a goodbye.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a good step.
You can be who you are. Okay, you can be who you are. But if you do not be willing 2 times 100%, remember, to make it at least 90%, not good. If I would say to you, I cannot eat potatoes because I'm allergic to potatoes, and you say, okay, I compromise, I give you French fries, they're still potatoes.
I know.
Okay? So what I mean with that is, what else is there as a side dish? There's pasta, there's rice, there's all kinds. Let's see what fits both, because a relationship is two people. It's not. A relationship is not Andre and Kim, it is us. So it has to fit us. It has to fit you and me, what makes it us. And if I don't see, and that is my major, major, major message I want to send out. If you cannot see the us or the we in a relationship, and you cannot adjust to the we and us, because you've been single for 5 years, and there was good and bad times, but see in a relationship what it really is. Like I said, two hearts, two souls find each other and merge.
Yeah.
You don't have to give up who you are, but give up some of your habits and patterns that didn't fit you in the past. And why would you think they fit you now?
No, I agree. And I think sometimes, like, I know we talked about this last episode about how sometimes people are they're shopping in the wrong aisle. And I think this kind of continues with that. Like you said, if you can't see a we or an us, you're definitely in the wrong aisle. And
Right.
and how do you, as a friend or as a relative, when you're seeing somebody in this kind of relationship, you want to help, but how do you do you have any advice for like somebody who's like watching somebody go through a train wreck and you don't know how to help them and they don't want to hear it? I mean, is there any advice on that, or just, I mean,
Well, there's also not one formula fits all, because
yeah.
everything has a history.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I would do is I would look into the personal energy of each person. Uh, the person might love each other and have similarities, but the cosmic and personal energy might be so different that they will have to work really, really hard to get it going. So how I would help there, I would say, let's talk. And then what is very, very important here too is, if you ever talk to two people, they are in a bad point in their relationship, don't let them, when you talk to them, don't let them talk to each other. Let them ask you or tell you. Then you rephrase it and ask the other person too. No, it's true.
No, I believe you. Trust me, I believe you.
It's totally sadder, okay? If you said, he always farts right in the middle of a football game.
Yeah.
That is harsh, right? I would rephrase it and say, is it true that you have heavy gas during football games? Yeah, because when I get excited, my nerves. Okay. So I would rephrase, well, it's sometimes the excitement of a game, you're root for a team. So if you rephrase it, you take a lot of the pressure and out of frustration, and sometimes even sadly, some of the hate out of it. And then I have certain procedures I do with couples to see where is the love. Okay, you can do certain things. I have to sit in or stand next to each other, and have certain steps I walk through with them. And then very important is also uh, that when you talk to both, that you also take the time to talk to one and then to the other one without the other one. And they have to have the trust and be ensured that the other one does not know what they told you. You have to keep it to yourself, because it helps you when you do that to determine when you're one-on-one with the woman or one-on-one with the man, and they open up to you. Don't use it against them when you try to help them. but it's good for you to know where they stand and you can guide better. That's what I always do. I always have a session with both, then a session with him, her, extra, and then again, both. And then most of the time you see in what direction the relationship went. And most of the time something gets lost. And it gets lost by taking each other for granted. Okay, he's here every day, she is here every day. And you lose some of the excitement. But when I told you from the outside sources, things come in and work out. But you can, if there was love and there is love and it got lost, you can find it again. And sometimes it's even stronger than before if you find it again. If you remind the people why they actually got together, everything, it is so different. I saw some relationships, people were really deeply in love. And they came to me and says, well, we want to, come to you if we should get married or not. Some of them, I said, well, when is the wedding? And some of them, I said, rather not. Well, we love each other and we want to be with each other, rather not. It was such a gap in between. They didn't see in the excitement.
Yeah.
And the relationship would have failed. And so others says, well, I don't know, and I see their way of dealing with each other in other cases is so lovely, even they don't know. And so relationship it's a very specific thing. But I want to close today with some basic rules. If you have a relationship, don't have expectations that go to the moon. Don't have entitlements. Don't have regrets. Don't use harsh words. There's a substitute for every harsh word, a kind word. And use why you love this person. Why? Don't start with a negative. Well, I love that person dearly, but this and this and this I don't like. No, stop out of here. I love this person. And that takes all the edges out because we all have edges. We're all not perfect. We all have hang-ups. We're all crazies in a certain way. So stop the entitlements. You only can have one legit expectations that the person loves you the same way you do. If that is not the case, you don't have a relationship. You can have an expectation that the person is mindful like you are. You can have the expectation that the person is loyal. There's an expectation you can have because there's expectations you must have. And you need to have respect for each other in a relationship. You need to love that person in a relationship. You need not to have entitlements, but you also need to have your boundaries in a relationship. And the boundaries are when it becomes verbally unpleasant. And that's where every of the two partners have to communicate and say, hold it on right here, time out. That is not how we solve that problem. When you call me a moron, it makes me angry because I don't feel like one. Why don't you tell me I did something you didn't like? It sounds a lot nicer. So the communication is there too. So you have the right of decent communication, of respect and of love. That what can I give you for today on a relationship. But a relationship is really, it's almost a topic for 24 hours because we all feel different. We see things different. But the general thing is when I talk about entitlements, when I talk about changing the other person, is put really, as old-fashioned as it sounds, it will never be old-fashioned. Put love first place. Put understanding and respect in the same priority. There's love, respect, kindness, and mindfulness, you already have a lot more than a lot of people. That is a solid foundation to build on. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Now, I know we talked about this globally, meaning, obviously we're doing generalizations, not specifics. But if somebody who's listening would like to contact you and go deeper into their own personal relationships, whether it be, like you said, romantic or work, or just maybe even relationship with self, like you've talked about a little bit, not being self-centered, but self-loving and understanding about themselves, how would they get in touch with you?
I have a website. It's called theysimplemylist.com. They can go on Andre Cohen on social media and on LinkedIn and Facebook, or they can contact you, or they can text me on the 424-382-5236. Always text me, because when I'm in session, I will not pick up the phone. I will always focus on my clients and not answer the phone whatsoever, because that is a very devoted time and very important time I spend with my clients. And they have the right that I am devoted. So after sessions, I will text back, call back, so there is no problem whatsoever. But what I can tell people right now, if you want to get into a relationship, make sure you really know who you are. Because on the way you went in your life, you live as yourself, and you don't see certain energies. You don't see your personal billboard. You don't see the messages you send out. You might say, your heart might feel, I love you. And you say, I love you. The message you send out is not what your heart feels.
Yeah. It's like, I love you. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, I'm into this. Yeah, we're good.
Becoming aware of yourself, how you appear to the other person and other people, and of your personal billboard and the messages, is very, very important to be successful in a relationship with a partner of your choice, but also in a relationship in business and with your neighbors.
I agree.
And right now with COVID, for over a year now, some people still don't realize how they depend on the next door neighbor. They depend, no, I don't care about my next door neighbor. But isn't it nice when both come out of the room and says, hi, how you doing? Isn't it a crazy time? I hope this goes over soon. So, that the smile of a neighbor, the smile of somebody you meet in the hallway. If we have learned in one year COVID to deal with each other more decently, more honest, and more kind, when will we learn?
Oh, I agree. I have to back with COVID, but I live in Florida. And so we obviously hurricane season, which unfortunately is coming up very soon. So when hurricanes are supposedly coming through, I tell you, I love my little neighborhood, because there's like about 5 of us who we will just literally put everything together. It's like, oh, okay, this person has a generator, this person can help with that. I mean, we, like, when we're prepping for hurricane, we just come together and we just collaborate, and we bring this energy. We have one old codger who doesn't like doing anything with anybody, but he's so funny. It's like, oh, well, we'll say something like, oh, do you have this? Oh, we can go to Home Depot and get that. Like, okay, but you have one right there. It's just not, but we all love him, because he's part of our community, and he's one of the first people that we go and make sure we take care of him first. And he's always like, why are you helping me? I'm like, because you're older, but it's just fun. But that's the whole point. It's like, we got to remind ourselves that our relationships are important. And like I said, with COVID especially, everybody does matter, and everybody's in having these opportunities to reach out, and not being a lone island. None of us should be on an island. And I know people personally who will say, well, I'm very cat-like, and so I don't need to talk to people. They always tease me that I'm a dog. Like, I'm the dog personality. It's like, oh, who's somebody new to talk to? And that's who I always have been. And even my own members of my own family, like, we'll go places and I'll like invite people to come along. It's like, And they're like, why do you know this person? I'm like, no, but what the heck, this is who I am. But I think that's what we need to remind ourselves is that, allowing ourselves new opportunities is going to help us to grow and for us to be the best that we can be. And so I thank you so much. And I do have to tell people as a disclaimer, Andre is amazing texter. He does text back. And also I have to say thank you so much because every morning we're 3 hours difference. So by afternoon, so by 12:30, 1 o'clock, by that my time in Florida, Andre sends me a good morning, God bless, how are you doing text just to say hello. And I appreciate that so much.
Thank you.
We have
but what I want to tell you on the end of our relationship, because I really scratch barely the canvas, is sometimes we have to go, when we go into a new relationship, and you just said something important, we have to see the opportunities things have. Very important sentence you said. But sometimes we have to think about reinvent ourselves before we go into a relationship and see where are the hangnails in our past, where are the obstacles in our past that we haven't succeeded but like we would love to succeed now. So reinvent ourselves. It means we're already there. We just make ourselves smoother. I always say reinventing, don't be scared of it. You have tires on your car. These tires used to be wooden wheels, same shape, same function, just smoother. And that's what reinvention is. You don't become a different person. No, opposite. What you lost about yourself comes back even better and refined if you reinvent yourself. And that's when you go into a relationship. That will help you a lot.
I think this will be a great topic for next time. What do you think?
I'm in it.
We could talk about nails, hangnails.
Blue,
I'm always changing. I'm always changing my nails. So there you go.
Well, I don't think they're just nice colored nails and not hangnails.
I'm always changing it. So, but no, thank you so much, Andre. It has been a pleasure. And as always, you were listening to One Non-Blonde.
You have a great day and keep in touch. And like I always said, I'm just a text message away.
You are. So again, welcome back. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, check out Andre's posts and his website, as well as his Facebook page, and also his he's got his phone number, and I'll put it on my page as well. Subscribe to my YouTube page. As always, thank you. God bless, and stay real.
You have a sensational and, like I say, wonderful, fabulous day.
Thank you. Bye, Andre. Till next time.